Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cricket Unfiltered. I'm Andrew Menzel. Friends and enemies call me Menners. I'm joined by my old friend Gav Joshi. Gav, how are you?
I'm good, Menners. I'm certainly a mate, not an enemy. But I can still continue to call you Menners.
Exactly. And we've got a debutante in today's show. So Chloe Amanda Bailey, a journalist at Channel 10, so a colleague of Jaleesa Apps, is joining us for the very first time because she is bloody IPL obsessed. All I get from her is, when are we going to talk IPL on Cricket Unfiltered? It's been bugging me for a year about it, Chloe. We finally get to do it.
It's hard to find people in Australia to talk all things IPL with.
It's great that we get to do it finally.
Yes.
And huge tournament, IPL 2022. How are you, Chloe?
I'm very well. Menners, you can work out if I'm a friend or an enemy.
I will pretty quickly. So you work with Jaleesa Apps at Channel 10?
Yes. Love her soul.
What's she like to work with?
She's brilliant and she's so kind.
Oh, good. Yeah, we love her at Cricket
And she's
Unfiltered.
so supportive, which is important, especially amongst women.
She has an amazing heart. I'm a real cynic, but she's just not like that at all. She's the opposite.
What?
She's opposite to cynical. She's kind-hearted, lovely.
Yeah. Okay.
So, look, we're all here because it's IPL 2022 time, and Cricket Unfiltered hasn't done anything on the IPL yet this year.
I'm sure.
And why is that, Menners?
Well, we came out of a big summer of cricket, and look, now that the tournament's up and running, the Aussies are about to head over. They've been released via their contract. So for those that aren't aware, the Australian contracted players couldn't actually take part in the IPL until after the Pakistan tour was completed. So we will see an influx of Aussies over the next week into the tournament. I mean, I think that'll have a big effect on some of the teams, Gav.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was the 6th, which is April today. A lot of the teams were aware that the Australian players weren't going to be there as well. So, I mean, likes of Warner, we don't know when Mitch Marsh will play, Maxwell, just so many names. The teams, from what I heard and from what I've been talking to a few people over there, they've been saying that pretty much they were prepared for the first 2 or 3 or even 4 matches that the Aussies weren't going to be. So the teams were clearly sort of equipped to play, and they knew who were going to fill in the roles too.
Yep. Chloe, any Aussies you're particularly looking forward to seeing in action?
Well, and I think a lot of people were asking me why Glenn Maxwell is there but not playing for RCB at the moment. Of course, he's a centrally contracted player, so he had to wait for the white ball series to be finished in Pakistan before he could play. I can't wait for Josh Hazlewood to get to RCB either. There are a few boys over there already. Daniel Sams is there. Nathan Coulter-Nile. I saw Wadey's there already.
I'm a huge Wade fan, massive Wade fan, the little general. I'm really looking forward to seeing David Warner front up for the Delhi Capitals. I think he is going to be really decisive because, obviously he was treated really badly by the Sunrisers Hyderabad last year. They didn't probably show him the loyalty they should have to such a great player for that franchise, and I think he's going to make them pay.
Well, and we saw an amazing comeback by him. I think, kudos to the Australian coach at the time, Justin Langer, for backing him, because Warner, I think, only had scored like 17 runs in 5 innings, and they just kept with him, and he ended up playing brilliantly. And I think there's nothing better than seeing someone who feels like they've got something to prove. And I think that he's going to have something to prove.
Absolutely. Warner performs well with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, interesting how he goes under, Ponting there at Delhi Capitals as well. There's been a lot of sort of who can get the best out of David Warner, and Ricky seems to be the guy. So interesting. Ricky couldn't actually do it with Glenn Maxwell when he was there. So let's see if he can do it with David Warner. What kind of role is he going to play? We saw him, sort of, does he go out and sort of bash from the start, or he's got some Prithvi Shaw who can do that? So interesting kind of to see what kind of role he's given to David Warner. Does he bat those 15 overs, which is what he was really successful at with the Sunrisers? Does he play that similar kind of role when he plays for Delhi? Well, we just yet to figure it out, and we'll see soon.
Yeah, Pant, Shaw and Warner is a pretty good trio for Delhi.
Well, and I think we're seeing a lot of that. There's 2 new teams. Teams were only able to retain 3 or 4 players at the end of last season. We're seeing a lot of new opening partnerships. We're seeing a lot of new, players are playing not where they usually would play. For example, in last night's match for Rajasthan Royals, Devdutt Padikkal, he always opened, but now they've got him at number 3. So I feel like particularly if your team maybe isn't doing so well at the moment, there's still some things to be figured out.
Yeah, it's an interesting IPL because of all the player movements. Now, just everybody that's watching live on YouTube, we're going to answer all the questions, put them all in there, and we'll get to them at the end. But we're going to have a bit of a general chat about the tournament. I also want to maybe run through some of the changes from last year for some of the Australian listeners who aren't sort of all over the IPL like Chloe is, who lives and breathes IPL, and so does Gav. But yeah, I mean, I guess all the group stage matches are being played in Mumbai and Pune because of, I think, the COVID situation in India. Gav, I guess, what effect do you think that'll have on the tournament?
Well, I mean, 4 different grounds. I mean, pretty much the pitches will be pretty similar. Pune is a little bit different, but if you look at Brabourne Stadium and Wankhede Stadium, which they're only about a kilometre away from each other. And then you've got the D.Y. Patil Stadium, which is probably it's in New Bombay, or as they call it, Navi Mumbai, which is Navi means new. Another word for you, Chloe. But I think the pitches have good bounce, red soil. But I think we've seen a lot of teams when it's a fresh pitch, we've seen really good surfaces. But just the way the surfaces are with the red soil tends to sort of, if you're playing back-to-back games, we've found out that the pitches can have bit of uneven bounce or slightly turn if it's an afternoon game. So it would be interesting to see how, as the tournament progresses, if the pitches still are as batting friendly as they are at the start of the tournament. I think as the heat comes on, I've inspected a few people back in Bombay saying it's getting very hot there again. And with that, I think we'll see the pitches changing over time. Maybe the back end of the tournament, the spinners coming into it a little bit, and instead of seeing these 190, 210 scores, we're probably going to see the more realistic 150, 160s as we head into the month of May. That's what my prediction is, just given, I've been to India several times, covered 7 or 8 IPLs, and especially I'm a boy from Bombay, Menace. So that's what I'm sort of. Yeah, all 4 grounds, beautiful. Of course, Pune is very close. It's actually funny because in 2017, when the Australian team was there, they actually took a plane from Mumbai to Pune, when actually the drive is a lot shorter. They probably would have got there in about 2 hours, but they ended up going all the way to Mumbai airport, flying for about 20 minutes, and then getting a bus, which took like 2 hours back from Pune airport back to the hotel. So there you go. So Pune is pretty much, and D.Y. Patil Stadium, which is the other venue, they're only probably about 50 minutes to an hour apart. So there you go. Bit of information for the listeners.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you both about, especially those coastal stadiums and the dew factor, because it's something we keep hearing about. How does that affect the game?
I've heard that they've actually got this environmentally friendly anti-dew spray that they've been using the last few nights.
Yeah. Gav, maybe you know a bit more about the spray, because the other thing I've been listening to in the commentary is, it depends at what time of the day they do the spray.
It does. It also depends, because if you look at Brabourne Stadium, Wankhede Stadium, they're right on the ocean. They're on the pretty much, as they call, the Queen's Necklace in Bombay. So the breeze comes in. So the humidity there will be totally different. Pune tends to be, you find the temperature, it won't be as humid because it's a lot more sort of inland. It's not on the coast. And D.Y. Patil Stadium is probably in the middle, but you just see it's more of a no breeze can come into that ground. So I reckon a lot of these factors play. These dew things, I've spoken to a few curators out there and groundsmen. I mean, it's a bit of a hit and miss, because at the end of the day, the dew will still sit on the surface, on the grass. Their job is trying to get that dew sort of to just come down on the grass and not sit on the blade of grass. But it's cut so short now. It's just so hard for the dew factor not to be, play a pivotal role. And you find that, I always find if it's a 3:30 game, batting first is probably not a bad time. We've also discovered that, especially at some of the grounds, that when the lights are going on, even in the first games, just around that twilight period, that the ball has tended to swing a lot more. So that's another sort of factor, little intricacies, I guess, but it's too hard to sort of predict these things. especially given the humidity. And I think it's going to get hotter and hotter. So the dew factor is just going to be accentuated, I reckon, as we go into the tournament.
So winning the toss and bowling's the way to go.
Yep, absolutely. I think they should just toss the coin, just go, yep, you're bowling. I guess that's how simple it is now. I don't think nobody wants to bat.
Well, I think out of the last 5 games, we saw 4 teams defend their totals. So at least there's that.
Maybe the Glysol spray is working.
Maybe. Perhaps it is.
So big changes this year. There's 2 extra teams, so a 10-team competition. The Lucknow Super Giants and the Gujarat Titans joined the competition. They paid a little bit of money for those franchises, I think, just $1 billion or something. So it's the
Pocket
second
money.
So it's the second time it's been a 10-team competition. So this IPL is going to go for 2 months. So I actually think, Gav, we will see what you said is the pitches get a bit worn because of the length of the tournament.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, the heat as well. Look, it's just a long tournament, man. There's bound to be injuries. Players are bound to lose form. Look, it's so hard to predict at the moment. It's quite important. Like some of the players and the coaching staff that I was sort of speaking to, and they just feel like if you can get those 2 or 3 wins early on in the tournament, it's going to be so important, especially because it's a 10-team tournament. Normally, if you look at the IPL over the last sort of 10, 15 years, you find that going into the 6 games, pretty much only 1 team is going to miss out. The other sort of 7 are still in contention. I think we're going to see possibly slightly different, where I think we're going to see 3 teams possibly ruling themselves out, and it's going to be about in between sort of 3 or 4 teams to sneak into the semi-finals.
Yes.
Are we liking the addition of 2 extra teams? Are we glad we're back to 10? I think we saw 10 teams back in 2011.
I'm not so big a fan as yet. I reckon they could have persisted for another couple of years. I don't think we have that much depth. But we haven't actually seen some of the best players. Like we've said, a lot of the Australian players aren't there. I think some of the West India, I think Jason Holder hasn't rocked up, and all those players. So once we see all the players available, it'll probably give us a true reflection of, is there enough depth there? There's certainly enough talent there, but as the tournament goes on, we'll probably get a fair indication. But it was bound to happen, let's put it that way. I think in another 3 years, we might see 12 teams.
Wow. So the format this season, it's not a round robin. So last year, all the teams played each other home and away twice, although they weren't actually home and away. But this year, basically, there's of the 10-team competition, basically you play 6 of the other teams twice, and 5 of the other teams twice, and then every other team once. And that's, you end up still playing 14 games, and then they all go into one ladder, and the top 4 go through to the finals. The top 2 get a chance to go straight into the decider, and then 3 and 4 play the eliminator, and then the winner of that plays the loser of the 1v2. So it's a sort of a classic format. But I guess what you talked about there, Gab, and Chloe, I'm interested in your opinion on this. Because of the 10 teams and the 4 making the finals, as Gav said, there is a real danger that a couple of the teams could just fall away early, and really there's not much for them to play for.
No. So what's the solution, though, having 10 teams?
Well, like I said, there'll probably be 12 teams, or they'll just make the IPL a 3-month tournament.
Final, or maybe 5 will make the final next year, just to keep a few more teams in it.
You're a Big Bash expert, Menace. 5 teams final, does it work or not?
Well, it's different with the Big Bash because we only have 8 teams, so 5 of 8 doesn't seem right because over half make the final. But I think mainly with the IPL, because it's 10 teams, maybe there is some merit in having 5 make the final. You get an extra knockout game to watch. And, if you're around that sort of 7th or 8th going into the last few rounds, you've still got something to play for.
Yep, good point. So maybe a 5-team, and I think they're just experimenting at the moment. I mean, and plus with COVID, we're seeing all the tournament being staged in Mumbai. Once it's sort of scattered all over India, we might get a better gauge, or they might have finals in different places. We might get sort of 5 teams. So I think this is a bit of a, well, I won't say trial season, but especially there's certain limitations that the BCCI has conducted this tournament in, especially with COVID and bubbles and so forth. So I think we could expect a few more changes come around next year.
And they are all still in a bubble right now.
Yep.
And it's like when the Australian boys go over, they have to isolate for 3 days before they can play. So
yep,
hopefully by next year, we're not in COVID bubbles.
Yeah, full fingers crossed. Chloe, just tell me before we continue,
Yeah.
what is it you love about the IPL so much? When did you get into it, and what was it that grabbed you about it?
Okay, well, everybody knows I'm a big fan of Virat Kohli.
Who's that?
Just some
guy.
some guy who's probably the greatest of all time, but let's not go there. I feel like, it is one of the best. IPL, how they've done it, it's just one of the best like franchise competitions I've ever seen. It's such a spectacle. I think India's passion for cricket. I mean, I unfortunately, as much as I would love to say that I've been to Chinnaswamy and watched an RCB match, I have not yet. And the last couple of years have been ruined because of COVID. But just at the ground, look at the crowd. I mean, you've been there, Gav. It's just insane. I also think BCCI has done a really good job. It's played at a time where there's not much international cricket or domestic tournaments.
There's a reason for that, Chloe. Reason for that. Yeah. They've told everybody they're not allowed to play. It's not a coincidence.
But it's just what I love about the IPL. It's funny that you asked this because I was thinking about it this morning, is that obviously I'm an RCB fan, but it doesn't matter who is playing. There are superstars in every single team, and you want to see what they're going to do. And it's not like any other tournament.
I agree. That's what I love is the matchups.
Yeah.
You've got the best. You got the best. Facing off in the best competition in the world.
Yeah. And I just do this thing every night where I'm like, oops, I'm up till midnight. I'll just watch the power play of whatever match is on. Oh, a couple of weeks have fallen in the power play. I'll just watch to 10 overs and then I'll just watch the first innings. And then before I know it, it's 4:30 a.m. and I'm like, oh gosh, I got to meet my friends for my morning walk in 2.5 hours.
Oh no.
It happens. I saw someone in the comments saying, do Australians follow it much or not? But it is hard when being overnight.
I think now with daylight saving kicking in as well, and some of the games will start at maybe 8 o'clock. I think that's a bit of a blessing, especially, and because there's more games, it means there's more double headers, and we've got more games. Normally, I think out of 56, we'd probably get about 8 games we could watch, so that's probably doubled now. So in Australia, we can probably watch 15, at 8 o'clock, and I guess as the winter sets in here, another sort of 15 days, I think, more people might start watching more and more of it, especially with the Australian players involved. We won't be going out as much as what we are now, I guess. It's still nice and warm. But yeah, no, and I guess the biggest thing about the IPL, people forget, it's actually staged during school holidays in India. Yes, COVID times has been different. Not many people. I saw somewhere, I know a cousin of mine who first went to school for the.
Oh, well, Gav's gone.
He's bailed.
He's bailed. He's
on
lost
us.
his internet. Anyway, we'll continue. Let's look at some of the odds. Hopefully Gav will come back because I want to.
Will he just magically come back?
Yeah, hopefully. I think his internet must have gone. I want to hear about that kid. Anyway, let's continue though, looking at some of the Aussies in the IPL. So Glenn Maxwell, RCB.
Yes.
Marcus Stoinis to the Lucknow Super Giants. He could be very impactful for them. They've done well already and they haven't even got him yet.
No.
I love Tim David, who's playing for the Mumbai Indians, just went for a lazy $1.53 million. Here's Gav. Gav, we lost you.
We did, yeah. I don't know what happened. Maybe the StreamYard fell.
You were telling us about your cousin, was it?
Well, whatever. But what I'm trying to say is it's actually conducted during school holidays. So kids are off school, which makes it perfect. So you go out and play some cricket as the sun sets at 7:30. You come home and you grab your grandma or mum or dad or whoever's at home and you sit down and watch IPL. That's why it's a little bit like the Big Bash. So So that's why it's the timing of it, the viewership. And I think the best thing that's happened, Menace, is the fact that a lot of these phone companies have offered special deals on their phones now for data. And part of the data deals, they include a lot of streaming services, and Geo, which is a big sponsor of and one of the carriers, they offer free IPL games. So, you don't have to be at home anymore. You could be traveling. You could be just sitting down, talking to your mates at a, at a hotel, or drinking a cup of chai, and you can just be watching the IPL. So that's added to the whole success of the model that is the IPL.
Well, as a cricket obsessive, I've spent many dinner times or dates, with the cricket on in the corner.
Yeah,
do you ever do that, Chloe?
I don't think my best friends love me that much when the cricket's on, because and you best believe if I get to the restaurant first, my phone's already there, propped up against my glass, watching whatever cricket might be on. But yeah, Gav, I think he said it right. It is kind of like the Big Bash here, where every single night my brother and I will check in, like, are you watching? It's like a family event, and particularly in India, right? I've heard it compared to, going home and watching a long 3-hour-long movie together, or 4-hour, like it's an actual real family thing over there. And that's another reason I love it. I just wish people had that much passion here for cricket.
Yeah, I mean, it stops the nation. I guess Australia's lucky because Foxtel's started broadcasting the IPL the last, I think, 3 seasons. So.
Not an ad, but if you do not have time for IPL and you are in Australia, get KO. You've
Minis.
Probably got KO anyway because it's football season. KO Minis.
That's a free ad, Matt Weiss, if you're listening.
not a paid ad.
He's a big listener of the show, but... yeah, so look, the tournament's underway. It's very early to sort of make too many calls about form, but I'll give you the way it's the table's looking at the moment. I'll go from 1st to 10th. You've got the Royals in first spot with 2 wins from 3 games. Matter of fact, you've got the Royals, the Knight Riders, the Gujarat Titans, the Punjab Kings, the Lucknow Super Giants, and RCB, all with 2 wins from 3 games and on 4 points. Then Delhi Capitals are in 7th spot with 1 win and 1 loss. But then the Mumbai Indians, Sunrisers Hyderabad, and Chennai Super Kings yet to register a win. I guess, Gav, any concerns with Chennai? They're none from 3. They're the defending champions. They've dumped Dhoni as their skipper.
Well,
hang on. Did they dump Dhoni, or did MS Dhoni say, it's time to hand on the baton?
Maybe they need to make him the skipper. What do you think, Chloe? Should CSK bring...
You best believe there was an uproar on Twitter when this happened. No, I think Ravindra Jadeja will do well, I think. But what is going on there? I mean, I don't know. I know they're missing Deepak Chahar, and I know that he's really important, when it comes to the power play or whatever, but you can't just rely on the one player.
Yeah, and Faf's a big loss as well. I mean, they didn't want to let him go as well. They just I think RCB were quick onto him, and Faf's been part of that furniture for so long as well. So I think Faf's a big loss. As you mentioned, Deepak Chahar, I think close to 70% of their power play wickets were picked up by him. He can bat as well. He can bowl, at the death if he really wanted to. And the other person, of course, is Shardul Thakur, because I think he was the leading wicket taker last year, or maybe 2nd or 3rd, or certainly for Chennai. He might be the most, his economy is not that really good, but you can guarantee Shardul Thakur's taking 2 wickets in a game. So they're 3 sort of crucial players who are not there at the moment. Plus MS Dhoni is not captaining. Plus the fact that, they're playing on true batting pitches. I mean, traditionally playing in Chennai, the ball can spin. MS is like to work with that. So a little bit of different strategies in place as well. But we're only 3 games or 4 games in, Menace. I think.
Yeah,
don't want to think. Yeah, it's early days.
But do you think Jadeja's in a pretty tough situation? Because it's not like Dhoni's retired. Like, he's got Dhoni standing right in front of him the whole time. So it must, do you think it's sort of some inferiority complex that, walking in his shadow?
Menace, I feel like, I might be wrong, Gav, but I feel like it would be more of a collaboration, not, so Jadeja, you're the captain now and I'm not saying anything.
I think MS Dhoni captains probably the team anyway on the field. He did that when Virat was sort of leading it. You hear, like Kuldeep Yadav and Chahal speak about it, and they just like MS not being in the Indian team, they just miss him so much because he pretty much spoon feed them and say, well, just flight the next ball, push this one down the leg side, or he's looking to hit towards mid wicket. So all these little indications, I'm sure MS is still giving that out to the Chennai bowlers, but captaincy is different, I guess. MS Dhoni was well known for not having team meetings. I don't know what's happening with Chennai now. Are they involved? Is Jadeja's not quite the character who's going to go speak up in team meetings? So I reckon the sort of the strategy or just the way they function, it's remained quite the same, just haven't had the results. And like I said, I mean, it's so early on, and I've seen this in the IPL where so many teams can start off slowly, but they just get that momentum and pick up, 4 or 5 wins in a row, and suddenly they're down the bottom and they just go into the mix and finish sort of third or fourth. So a long way to go, Menace.
Well, and we all know it's T20 cricket, like anything can happen.
Yep. Absolutely.
We can't write off a team because they've lost 3 from 3.
And once, some of these teams get a lot better with the Aussies into them. So we'll see how that goes. Joss Buttler, leading run scorer so far, century and I think an 80 overnight, played really well. A bounce back for him, Chloe. He had a wretched Ashes. He looked out of form. And, he just comes alive in T20 cricket.
Who was at the other end when Joss was on 98, 99? Was it Hetmeyer at the other end? I can't remember who it was, but my memory is not as bad as I think, guys. This is great. So it was so funny watching because when Joss got up to like that 98, 99, he wasn't getting the strike. And I was just like, it probably wasn't as many balls as it seemed, but I was like, is Hetmeyer going to give him the strike to get this 100 or not?
Are you an emotional watcher? When you're at home watching the IPL, are you up and down from the couch?
Yes. And you know what? I think people are like, Chloe, you're a journalist, but you know what? I won't let go of the passionate sport fan in me. Like, why should I? I'm me,
well, and that's you're actually not covering the IPL.
No.
So you're not doing anything wrong.
No. Well, that's true. Which is why I can be biased.
You should be
RCB.
emotional, exactly.
Might I also say, Joss, in that game, I think he took an amazing. Was that the game he took the amazing running catch?
Yep, absolutely.
What a blinder! He's playing so well, and I think he's one to watch for sure.
And he's a revelation. I mean, just an innings, and I think it's his 300 T20 match, which is remarkable. I mean, we still feel like T20 is quite new, but someone like Joss Buttler's played 300 T20 games. And I mean, ever since sort of, remember he started sort of the bottom of the order, but ever since he's moved to the top for, England or his county, he's just changed, I think. And sometimes it's just fortune. Like you see the game last night, I think he only faced 47 deliveries. And while you look at the game he scored the 100 in, I think he faced 27 balls in the power play. So sometimes it's just a bit of luck as well. Like sometimes you get a lot of strike, which allows you to play during those power plays period where the field is up, and then that allows you to sort of, someone like a Butler or might be an Ishan Kishan or anyone like that, more balls you face in the power play is always good because you can actually make the most out of them. So, but sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes it's just a non-striker who funds all the strike, like Menace does in this podcast.
The other thing, Menace, you did mention, he bounced back after the England tour, Australia tour, you know what I mean? I don't think we can go past the fact that morale or culture in a team is also very uplifting for a player. And I mean, we saw England here. Nobody really seemed to be like, Joss seems really happy at the moment. And Rajasthan have a really great roster.
Like that touring squad, the Ashes squad, the English embodied the whinging pom. Most of them just complaining. I mean, Darwin Milan was whinging about everything. There's all sorts of stories floating around behind the scenes.
So I'm just saying, I don't think
But I also think Butler's test career is probably, I mean, I don't think we'll see him play a lot of test cricket anymore.
Let him run rampant at RR. Yeah. They'll be happy with that. Also, I think that catch was Daniel Sams. So
the other one player, Ishan Kishan, the Mumbai Indians left-hander, second leading run scorer. I've got a little bit of a soft spot for him. I don't know if either of you have seen it, but there was a Netflix documentary called Cricket Fever.
Seen it.
About the Mumbai season 4 years ago.
Did you spot me in the documentary?
Oh, yes, I did, actually. I did.
Wait, you're in the documentary?
Yeah, he's at a press conference there.
Well,
Oh,
I'm
you
going to
did?
watch
Okay.
it again.
Yeah, I did.
I, don't,
remember-
I didn't even know I was on there. Somebody had to alert me. So
but yeah, Ishan Kishan
Yes.
got sort of. He seemed a bit big, too big for his boots. A bit of a big head in that, and then a couple of the senior players kind of chopped him back to size on camera. So I've always had a little bit of a soft spot for him.
I think he was the most expensive player to go at the auction this year, but I mean, he's doing the work for his money. And I like watching him. I
He's
think
exceptional.
India in particular have these young players like Rishabh Pant as well. And it's just like something's going to happen when they're at the crease. Like it's so exciting to watch.
it's the new breed of India, isn't it? It's just
Yes.
they just want to. They're flamboyant. They don't. They're not afraid. I mean, Ishan Kishan, Rishabh Pant, they could hit the first ball for six. It's which is sort of unconventional in the way almost how not cricket is played, but also with the way cricket is taught. You go to various maidans of India, and it's the front elbow, the lead with the shoulder, but a lot of their mechanics or the foundations of the game are still the same. That allows them to play. I don't think Ishan Kishan or Rishabh Pant, that you've spoken to them in the past, that they were taught not to play those shots. When they're 8, they were taught technically, and then they've sort of expanded their game because just the demand of T20 cricket or just the way cricket has evolved. So, but it's fantastic. It just shows how different kind of some of these new generation Indian players are. They just don't fear anymore, which is
No. Well, you see that in Rishabh Pant in red ball cricket. He will come out there and you'll be like, man, this ain't T20, but I'm liking what I'm seeing.
And
So
it's
it's kind of
Washington Sundar as well.
Yeah. So all the white ball cricket, I think, is kind of changing Test cricket a little bit as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. And we saw that when India chased, over 300 at the Gabba on that final day. Like it just seemed like nobody believed they can do it, but they did. So, and I think it was just a sort of a great sort of perfect example of these new guys. Like Mena said, I mean, Washington Sundar, he hasn't really come about in this IPL, but he's got immense talent as well. So there's just so many. That Tilak Verma, who's playing for Mumbai Indians, he's really caught my eye, Menace. He looks really good. So let's see how he goes for the rest of the tournament. Left-hander, elegant, he's got all the shots, seemed to have all the confidence, and playing for Mumbai. So watch out for him.
Well, Washi did well, I think, in the power play the other night. He took a couple of wickets against Lucknow. I like when teams utilize Washington Sundar in the power play because I think that's he plays good there. But yeah, I think just let him find his feet at Sunrisers and
absolutely. All right, let's looking at the tournament so far.
Yes.
A couple, there's been a few highlights that jumped out at me. I love seeing.
I love highlights.
I love highlight moments of the week so far. I loved Andre Russell's 70 not out of 31 deliveries. Chasing, he just came in when his team was in trouble, and he was exceptional. 8 sixes in that 70, and that was my moment of the week. Also enjoyed Lucknow chasing down 210. But
the audacity.
What
Andre?
What about you, Chloe? What's jumped out at you?
My moment, one of my moments of the week, which I have about 100. But one of them is like, MS Dhoni, I'm sorry, Mahi, who do you think you are letting 40-year-olds think that they can have a body? There's just such a finely well-oiled machine to make that run out. How he got that run out, I think it was of Rajapaksa.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, vintage Dhoni. That is one of my moments of the week. I watched the replay about 800 times. Another one I think that might fall under the radar is I love that Gujarat and Lucknow played the two new teams played their first
that was
game
smart because that meant one of the new teams would win their first game.
Yeah.
Smart
Mohammed
scheduling.
Shami's first ball was a bloody ripper. He had such a good spell in that game, and I think that that first ball to send KL Rahul back, I was like, what better start could we ask for in this game of the two new teams?
Absolutely. I've really enjoyed watching Kuldeep Yadav come back into IPL, or just in, he was a guy that we saw him make his debut against Australia 2017, saw him pick up a fifer at the SCG about a year later, and he sort of almost disappeared just left arm wrist spinner, and everyone thought his confidence was gone, injury. But the way he's come back, I mean, a lot of credit to Ricky Ponting, who just basically said, look, you're going to play every game. So I have faith in you. And amazing how much confidence has allowed, Kuldeep to really come back. So I'm really enjoying it, because he's still, in a way, a spinner who's from, we can say, the dark old ages, because he actually likes to flight the ball. So I've really enjoyed watching him, because you see most of the other wrist spinners, they're trying to replicate Rashid Khan. And it's actually funny, isn't it? Like in T20 cricket now, the fast bowlers are trying to bowl slow, and the spinners are trying to bowl fast. Like that's T20 cricket now.
Yeah, Paul Dennett, who's not here this episode, my co-host, he often says that he doesn't understand why some IPL teams and T20 sides don't just pick 4 spinners, like just go in with all spin.
Well, maybe dew factor is one of them.
That's right.
Can't forget about the dew.
Well, you've got the spray. I'm gonna need it in here. It's getting pretty hot. So Chloe, what's your
Well, I think
moment of
also
the week?
in that. Well, I think it's. Well, you took Dre, Russ.
Okay, well,
So I like
did I take
Mahi.
yours?
No, well, I like Mahi's run out.
Okay, good.
Mohammed Shami's first ball. Liam Livingston he had quite a match the other night.
What I'm getting from you is that you need an RCB moment, don't you? So
oh well, I'm just choosing like my froth factor. By the way, guys, we have a thing now called Froth Factor. I didn't tell either of you about it.
Okay.
Is Dinesh Karthik.
DK.
I cannot go past him. Like absolute finisher for RCB. I know in that game they were defeated. Even then, he just played amazingly. And I just think from what I saw on Twitter during auction, everyone, RCB fans in particular, why are we buying DK? Like, go with a younger person. DK is just there like, yo, I'm here. And like, he's going to be an RCB legend.
DK fan right here.
Yes, sir. He also is very like, he's really cool. My brother says he's the coolest commentator because he wears all this like, it's got flair.
He was pretty cool. He said some controversial stuff.
No, your brother needs to watch The Shield and listen to me and Menace.
Yeah. Well, my brother actually, for the record, is a huge Shield fan.
Oh, well, he might have been.
He loves the
He would have
Shield.
enjoyed our commentary. All right. Should we get into? We've got a lot of viewer questions in the YouTube comments. So if you want to leave a question, now's the time. Okay. How do you say that, Gav?
Archisman Mishra.
Archisman, yeah, Mishra.
Yes. How famous?
I know who this is.
How famous is IPL in Australia? Not very. Doesn't it affect sleep schedule of people? Reactions of Chloe, man, when RCB were 80 odd for 5. What was she feeling at that moment? Yeah, tell us, Chloe, what were you feeling when RCB were 80 for 5?
Well, I knew we were going to get it done because we had DK. But isn't that bad? Because I'm like, we can't just rely on DK. But we do have a stacked batting. Like, we have good depth in our batting. We really do. And Glenn Maxwell's just going to add to that.
So you're not worried?
No.
Confident?
DK is going to win us that cup. And
I should just put out there that
Gav's reactions are the best.
Chloe was given a free RCB jersey last week, so she's kind of been paid off to say nice things.
This is a lie.
Well,
I ordered it. I just had someone to send it to me from India.
Sure.
Why are you wearing it? Yeah, where is it? Oh, there it is. Why are you wearing it?
Next time, maybe not. She's going to put it on. All right, next question. Archisman Mishra again. Gav, missing your talkback shows with Bharat. Hope you remember.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get back to them. Bharat's still in Pakistan. Hopefully he comes back well and safe, and we'll have a chat.
Are you happy, Gav? Do I look the part now?
There you go.
Looking great.
There you go. I think Menace should slip into like a CSK. I can see you in a CSK.
Yeah, Menace.
Yeah.
No, he's an RCB fan.
No, Royals, but I'm kind of neutral.
Do you want to tell people why you like Rajasthan Royals?
Yeah, because that first season when Warren was the captain and they won the title, it was magic stuff. It was a brilliant final, and I've always had a soft spot for them, but never been to India, so it's hard to really have any skin in the game yet.
My favorites the other day, on KO, not an ad. you can choose your favorite teams and it'll try to like push those, games and things to the top. I was like, Rajasthan Royals, because obviously I picked them years ago. It's like, Australian cricket team, Indian cricket team, RCB, and then Rajasthan Royals. And I was like, that is there from so long ago. I also liked to keep an eye on what Steve Smith was doing back in the day.
Yeah. Chris Stone, the owners in the IPL seem fairly ruthless. Does this put too much pressure on the players? Sometimes the players look scared when they make a mistake. I mean, Gav, you probably know more about this, and Chloe as well, but there seems to be that kind of undercurrent that some of the owners do get involved, and it doesn't always work out well.
It doesn't work out well, but they are the owners, Menez. So it's been
I'm not criticizing them.
No, absolutely no. I mean, they do have an influence, undoubtedly, and that's why we've probably seen, something at Sunrisers where teams have fallen apart. We've seen what happened with Simon Kadich. We've seen, when we see, say at the ICB, we've got a head coach, we've got a director as well with Mike Hesson. Then you've got, the owners as well. So all of them have to be in sync. Not everyone can be in sync. Or look at Mumbai Indians, the most successful sort of franchise, and the owners drive everything. Yes, they want certain players, and it's so I think it just depends on how the structure works. Some owners and players and coaches can get along. Some feel that they need to be more powerful because at the end of the day, they're the owners. So it's a tricky part.
Take it off,
I'm so hot under these lights.
Take it off.
Sorry, guys.
That's it. The RCB jersey's gone. So Chloe's lost faith in RCB already, which is not a surprise. That's like many of their fans, actually, Menez.
What did you say? I missed that.
You just said you've given up on RCB for the season.
RCB and for life.
I just noticed, like in the Mumbai documentary I mentioned before and other things, it can't help players if you've got a disgruntled owner coming in after you've lost the game. I mean, at some point as an owner, you've hired a coach, you've hired selectors, you just say, okay, I have faith in you.
Yeah. I mean, how much of a say do the owners get, though?
I've
only seen Mumbai fever.
They do. A lot of
Shahrukh Khan in there at KKR being like,
not to the extent of what Mumbai Indians are, from what I've heard. But and I don't know about the new teams. I haven't been across to India for a while now, for a couple of years because of COVID. So I don't know how influential those new team owners are as well. So, but yeah, like you look at CSK, it's pretty much, yes, the owners dictate sort of one side of things, but MS has always had the control of the cricketing aspects. So it just depends on the owners. It depends on the franchise. It's just a culture that's already in there. We've seen someone like Punjab have issues in the past. So every team's different, and I reckon those who do it the best, either they have full ownership coming from the owners, or they have like that fine sort of balance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Gav, you said you had to go at 4:45. Do you need to go now?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine for the next 10, 15. No problem.
Yeah, good. We'll finish up then. So next question from Varis Desai. Sorry, I'm butchering all these pronunciations.
No.
What do you think about the Titans, the Gujarat Titans, after looking the weakest team on paper after the auction, but they have gone 2 from 2? And all I'm going to say is when you've got Wade, Gill, Hardik Pandya and David Miller in your top 6, and Rashid Khan with the ball, that's a pretty good lineup. What do you think, Chloe?
Yeah, when I saw this question, I was thinking, did it look like the weakest team on paper?
Lockie Ferguson, Mohammed Shami. It's stacked.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think, again, someone like Hardik Pandya, who's been kind of, trolled is the word I always think of, but, he's been out of form. He also comes back and has something to prove. Also, did you see his brother get him out the other night? In that first
Did
match?
Did he?
Krunal was just like, he felt bad, but was also happy at the same time, obviously bittersweet. I think Gav's frozen.
Oh, well,
in time.
That's good. We'll get him back eventually. You know what? I love seeing brothers play against each other. The Agar brothers, Ashton and Wes Agar, they've played each other a lot in domestic cricket. And what I've noticed is the first time it can be a bit awkward, but then after that, they seem to get used to it pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, it was the Battle of the Brothers the other night, and it was kind of fun to watch. But it was funny seeing Krunal get him because he was just...
I might have to go for the Gujarat Titans this year. I'm
Maybe
actually making a decision
team.
live on the show. I mean, Matthew Wade, I love. He's like such an inspiration. I'd love to see him win an IPL. After winning the T20 World Cup.
Also, they've got Shubman Gill. He took that beautiful catch the other night.
Yeah, no, I like that team. And Rashid Khan, huge fan of his. So
me too. Can't go past him. One of the best T20 bowlers in the world. One of the best bowlers in the world. One of the best spinners in the world.
Gav's back.
Yeah.
I'm back. I don't know why I keep disappearing, but...
Well, while you were gone, Mena's decided he's a Gujarat Titans fan.
Oh, really? Yeah. No, I can't make certain comments on here, but yeah, you fit right into Gujarat, I reckon.
Now, Pritam Das, and I had to block him because he asked this question 50 million times in the comments. He asked you, Chloe. He said, you plan to go to the IPL this year. What's happened?
Well, no, I still plan on going over there, but the thing is people that I also need to see are in the bubble, and I don't care to join the bubble. So I'm going at the end.
Okay.
And that's my answer.
Exclusive news on Cricket Unfiltered. Chloe
where
to go
RCB, also RCB is going to make the final, and I don't want to miss that.
Great. All right. Prashant Singh. What do you guys think?
What were you going to say, Gav?
What were you going to say, Gav?
I was just going to say, no, I already said it. I said, we know about Chloe's trust and faith into the RCB. She's already taken that jersey off.
Every year for a long time.
So
she wore it for about 2 minutes max.
Oh, come on. It's so hot in here.
A real fan wouldn't have taken it off. Okay.
A real fan would have come with it on. No, I had it. There's that.
Okay, Prashant Singh. What do you guys think of Mumbai and Chennai teams this year?
Well, I think we touched on CSK quite a bit. They'll work it out.
Mumbai. They'll come good. I think they're missing Surya Kumar Yadav. He's just such an integral part of that team. They've really missed Trent Bolt. I think Daniel Sams is somebody they felt that could replace him, but hasn't quite been right. Or Tyrone Mills has been okay as well, but you'd never doubt Mumbai. I mean, Bumrah, who imagine there was an auction where Bumrah went in. I reckon he could have gone for 50 crores, which is like whatever, $25 million. I think he's the most valuable cricketer, T20 cricketer in the world by a country mile. But in saying that, I think Mumbai will come good. They're generally notoriously very slow starters. So expect them to come good. I think they have a few games coming up at Wankhede Stadium, which is like their home ground. So Rohit Sharma, Ishan Kishan's there. Surya comes back. Pollard. Don't count them off. Too early.
My answer is also the same.
Do not.
Nothing
you
different.
never write
no
off
difference.
Mumbai.
If anyone gets that.
You never write off Mumbai. That's all right. Shrikant. If Maxi comes in for Rutherford, so this is with Chloe's beloved RCB. So that's Maxi replacing Shafane Rutherford in the 11. How can Josh Hazelwood be accommodated as RCB cannot keep out Sri Lankan Hasaranga? What do you think, Chloe? This is your wheelhouse.
Well,
how will Hazelwood get in there?
The first question is, when is Hazelwood going to be able to play? Because what is going on with him right now? Because I read he can't play for at least another, what's the date today? For another weeks, but I don't know if that's set in stone. So this might be something we don't have to think about right now. But I don't know where he's at.
When's the next RCB game? In a couple of days?
Yes,
you can safely say that in the IPL.
Definitely
You'll always be
today.
right. In a couple of days.
So if he misses out on that, he's probably back for the one after that. So I reckon he's...
RCB are playing on the 10th of April against Mumbai.
Yeah, he might be back for that one.
I know, but Gav, I saw he won't be back before the 12th minimum for personal reasons, but I don't know what that means or what's going on.
Well, I do know.
I could be wrong.
It's the New South Wales Cricket Awards dinner tomorrow night in Sydney, which I'm going to. Maybe Hazelwood's thought not missing.
Is he here?
New South Wales Cricket's Night of Nights.
Well, he's not with the squad. Maybe maybe you can ask him tomorrow.
I'll ask him tomorrow night.
Yeah,
all right,
exclusive.
congrats to Australia for winning the T20 series. Excited for Nathan Ellis. So this is interesting. Nathan Ellis took 4 wickets against Pakistan overnight,
Yes.
heading over to play for the Punjab Kings.
Yes.
They got a bargain, 139,000 Aussie dollars. And he's from Tassie. That's 2 houses there, so that's good for him. Yeah, what do you think of Ellis?
Oh, he's great. I mean, it's going to be. I mean, just his experience of playing in the IPL is going to be huge for him as well. Coming against the best players, interesting in what role he has. If he actually gets given the ball, like, at the death, he has a superb Yorker. That's one thing for sure. And I think he's a real competitor. So I'm looking forward to. I hope he gets a couple more, few games for Punjab, and see how he goes against the best in the world. So I'm looking forward to. I reckon he's underrated as a bowler. I don't think he's. We don't hype him up as some of the other Australian bowlers that we have here, but I think he's a real goer. Yeah, I hope he gets a few games. Just see. Show the case to the world that who Nathan Ellis is. Let's not forget, like, whenever I think about Punjab and in Australian cricket, I always think of Shaun Marsh, Menace. Like, in 2005, 6, 7, we sort of heard about Shaun Marsh, but it was the 2008 IPL that everyone realised that, oh my God, this Shaun Marsh is actually genuinely so good because he got 700 odd runs in that first edition. So I'm not saying Nathan Ellis is going on that mark, but IPL just puts people into a spotlight, even in their own country, when they actually haven't been in the spotlight. So I reckon Nathan Ellis could do something like that.
I will say that there is a big gap between, say, the Big Bash and the IPL. Like, I think, say, someone like Daniel Sams, who's moved from the Big Bash into the IPL, he still does okay in the IPL, but you certainly see him exposed at times against, that next level of player.
Yeah, well, like I was saying earlier, IPL really is like the superstars of the world all over there playing. And so the level naturally, I think, is going to be higher. It's the one league that they all want to go play in.
Next question, SS98. Rate Hardik Pandya as a captain.
No rating from me currently because I think that we can't go off 2 games.
Okay, I haven't watched their game. It's been too late in the night for me, so I'm not gonna. I'm gonna stick down there.
All right, so we're all gonna
no comments.
No comment. We'll save that one for later. And
we'll come back to that later in the season.
Probably too early to judge.
Yeah.
Martin Lawrence, is there anything the BBL could or should borrow from the IPL? Chloe?
Sure. The Indian players.
RCB, Virat Kohli, Rishabh Pant, Mohammad
Which will
Shami,
never happen.
Jasprit Bumrah.
Which will never happen for good reason.
What good reason?
Because BCCI has to protect their business. And I get that. If you look at it from their perspective, we would all be doing the same thing.
I think Cricket Unfiltered should just buy a team, Menace. You've got enough cash lying around. And
yeah, absolutely.
Really?
What do you think, though, Gav?
What would we call the team?
You see these stupid rules being brought into the Big Bash, the power surge and the X Factor. There's none of that bullshit in the IPL, is there? It's just classic T20 cricket.
Before Gav answers and say, it is the one thing that kind of gets on my nerves that I tweet about I'm like, wait, what are the new rules this year to try to make it better? But we're fiddling with it so much that it's so hard to keep up with. And also if it's not necessarily benefiting the game.
I agree.
There's so many things that could come into it, but I mean, privatization, and that's why I said, Menace, time to buy that team, mate. Cricket Unfiltered. Chloe, as you walk out, there's that room to the left. That's where all the cash is stored. So just try and
I'm just going to swing by there on the way out.
Hold this jersey as ransom. The only thing I think the BBL could borrow is actually let's get Australia's best players playing in the Big Bash, because that's the difference with the IPL, that you've got the best Indian players as well as all the internationals. I'd love to see that in Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. Even, in our final that we just had, they just should have let Steve Smith back in for the fans. Like, let us see the spectacle that is, the best players. And we really don't have that. We don't have that in BBL.
Not
and that is,
all.
you are right. That is missing. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Imagine seeing, Warner up against, Stark or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we're all waiting for that, or have been waiting for that.
Yes.
Exactly.
When is it going to happen?
Well, thanks everybody that's left questions in the comments. There was a lot of them. We got to most of them, but really great to have everyone watching live and contributing with the questions. Gav, before I let you go, what are your thoughts about the rest of the IPL? You're going to be following it. Who are you particularly keen to see?
Yeah, I want to know, Gav, who you back.
Well, here we go.
I'm making your choose.
Who I'm backing? I'm not backing anybody.
Who's your team?
I've just become an experienced campaigner. I've covered like 7 IPL, so it's
you
a
said that once
tournament.
already. We don't need to hear it again.
Yeah, tournament of mysteries. But every time I say that Mumbai Indians can't win, they tend to win. So
don't say that, please. RCB.
Okay. But if you had left the jersey on, I would have said the RCB. But no, I'm not. And yes, I'm covering a few matches. So I think I've already covered 4. So I think I've still got another 15 or 20 to go. So I'm gonna. None this weekend, Menas. The golf is on, which is taking priority over the
US
IPL.
Masters, so you can
Absolutely.
Well,
sleep.
Menas, I expect to see you in your Gujarat Titans jersey next week.
Absolutely. Do they have weird sizes for short men? Anyway, we'll find them.
They have
Exactly.
You'd still be pretty, about taller than 50% of the male population in India, Menas. So.
I fucking have to go then. I mean, I must go and follow the IPL when there's no bubbles. So, Gav, thanks for joining us. Chloe, how did your debut go on Cricket Unfiltered?
Oh, I think it went quite all right.
You enjoyed
You guys
it?
are okay, I think.
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
Except I've never come on a podcast and taken a shirt off.
Well,
we're just glad it was a Menace, put it that way. So
exactly. The viewers are especially lucky it wasn't me. Well, Chloe, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you
Great
for
to have
having
you
me.
on.
I'm so glad we got the band together, because what everyone doesn't know is we were meant to do this a year ago, and something happened and we couldn't, and then COVID happened, but here we are now, and I'm happy.
Great. I'm happy too.
Here's to many late nights.
That's it. And so we'll be back soon. Thanks, everybody that's listened. I've got an interview with Dan Christian dropping next week. He's written a fascinating book about playing in T20 tournaments all around the world. So that's dropping on Monday. And thanks, everybody that's listened and watched.
Thank you. Thank you, Menace. Thank you, Chloe. Chat to you guys.
Bye, guys.
Nailed it, Chloe.